Hello, everyone. You can see my disgusting face. Um, why does humanity shy away from devotional service or worship? You see, we've been born with certain imprints, and these imprints need to be purified from us if we are to escape the human situation. I've already said things that go way over the head of most people. Um, Look, I'll be brief. Within every neuron, which isn't even a thing in itself. It's just an appearance of like different subunits. But within every neuron, there is these things called microtubules. And if you put someone under general anesthetics, if you put them to sleep, they stop emitting light, basically. And this shows a direct correlation between the microtubules and consciousness. It proves it. This was done very recently, in fact, only last month in April 2022, thanks to experiments by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, which have been mocked by smug mainstream neuroscientists for the past 30 years. You believe in like the crazy microtubule theory? That's what they were saying for like 30 years, and it just got refuted. It proves there's a direct correlation. And of course, these idiots in mainstream neuroscience, which by the way, they've been doing their science for 30 years now, and they still haven't come up with any cure for Alzheimer's, any cure for dementia. Sooner or later, the government needs to pull their money out of these fools and acknowledge that it's a total waste of time. Anyway, these fools, these scientists, um, mocked the theory for 30 years and it just got proven. They said, put someone under anesthesia, it affects the neurons. Like, be more specific, yeah? Which part of the neuron? The axon, the synapse, the nucleus, the microtubule. There's no such thing as a neuron as a thing in itself, because it's composed of many different parts. It's like treating my body as like a kind of like a. It's literally like treating my body as like a hollow thing. And you'd say that's absurd, like the body is composed of many different parts. And you're right, but that's what they're doing in neuroscience. They're taking the body, the neuron, and then they're treating the neuron like it's hollow. Like you take a drug, it affects the neuron. Be more specific. Which part of the neuron does it affect? Memories are stored in neurons. When the neurons are gone, that's it. They're all annihilated. Which part of the neuron? And the instant they get into describing which specific parts of the neuron are related or correlated with these activities, the whole materialist framework collapses. That's it. It's over. Because by acknowledging that, you inherently acknowledge consciousness is subtler than neurons themselves. It just collapses. So we're living in the golden age right now because we may not live to see reverse aging and stuff like that, but we have lived to see the death of materialism and the belief in our own mortality. Hey, smug materialists and atheists who mocked us for like 30 years. You're mortal. When the brain dies, you die. No clue what you were talking about. No clue whatsoever. Excuse me. So, they mocked us for 30 years. You believe that there's like a part of you that lives on after death? Now we will mock you for the rest of our existence while we're here, you fucking idiot materialist. The point is this. Imprints are memories. They're contained in the neurons. Be more specific where are they contained. As Stuart Hameroff proposes, they're contained in the microtubules. That's where memories are located. Why? Because consciousness is contained in the microtubules, and there's no distance between imprints and consciousness. They're an aspect of consciousness. So, imprints are with consciousness. Consciousness never dies, which just means it never appears and disappears like the physical body, for example. It just operates through the microtubules. And now the problem is the reason why we keep getting hooked up to these human microtubules and then through the microtubules, the whole thing, like the synapses and the sense organs. The reason why we keep getting in this situation, well, we have to go through old age and aging and decay and cancer and heart disease and death, which is the worst thing imaginable, because it would be bad enough, like, being in a permanent state of, like, old age and torture. But when it keeps happening, like, over and over again, you have a body that's youthful, then it's old, then it's youthful again, then it's old. This is like the worst torture imaginable. It's like in those North Korean concentration camps where they, like, put the inmate's head into a toilet until he drowns, and they drag it out so he gasps for air. And then when he thinks that he's finished, they put his head back into the toilet again. It's kind of like that intermittent reinforcement, and it has an addictive quality to it. But the point is this: we have imprints that keep leading to this horrible condition we're in right now. These imprints include, and I'm going to relay this to you because I don't have much longer left in this world. That's why I'm making this video. Where these imprints include things like greed, lust, anger, hatred. But the worst of all of them is called self-ignorance, agnosis. Self-ignorance means you identify your essential, irreducible nature with things that are not your essential, irreducible nature, such as the perceptible body, the perceptible neurons, the perceptible microtubules, things that are perceptible or objective. You identify your essential, irreducible nature as them, whereas in fact you are the one who is observing them. You're the one looking at them. If you're the one looking at them, it can't be you. Anything you objectify cannot be you. That's the law. That's that's just reality. Like, even like, you can't separate yourself from yourself and look at yourself, because then there'd be a distance between yourself and yourself. It wouldn't make sense. Um, uh, what was the point? The memory, yeah, the imprints. Okay, so I haven't got much longer left, so please listen up. This is why I'm making this video, because I don't know. I could literally quit this body and leave this world any night. Like, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night. We're getting close. I don't have much longer left. Thank God. Sorry, thank Amara. So, how to purify us? What I mean by our essential irreducible nature is that something that can be removed from you without you ceasing to exist cannot be you. So, for example, if you take your hand and you imagine it being cut off, well, that's horrible, but you didn't cease to exist, therefore you are not your hand. Cut off the arm, horrible, but I still didn't cease to exist, I can't be the arm. Cut off half the body, I didn't cease to exist, can't be half the body. Cut off the head itself. Now, would you actually cease to exist? Because if you go to sleep at night, and you wake up afterwards, you remember it having qualities, specifically blackness, peace, and timelessness. The fact you remember all of this shows that it's an experience. There may not be consciousness there as we experience it right now, but consciousness in a more subtler form. This is called nous in ancient Greek, or proto-consciousness. This is consciousness when it is not experiencing through the microtubules. It's just consciousness in its kind of, not entirely delocalized, but more subtle delocalized state. That's what we experience every night, and in death, that's called nous, or proto-consciousness, we could translate it as. That's the term Stuart Hameroff uses, which is pretty nice. So a deep dreamless sleep is a state, which is death, is a state of no thought. It's not non-existence. Via unmeditation, which means after worship, when you've developed a superhuman level of concentration, you sit quietly and you let the psyche dissolve, and eventually thoughts stop coming and going and the mind goes silent. But you realize that nous, proto-consciousness, does not disappear when thoughts disappear. You are the observer of thoughts. You don't come into existence when a thought appears. You don't go out of existence when a thought disappears. You are always present and you are always observing. But in deep dreamless sleep or death, the mind goes silent. There's no thoughts, but that doesn't mean there's non-existence. That is proto-consciousness or nous, and that is for us to experience. But the masses are very identified with thoughts, so they think that they are thoughts. Again, they're the observer of thoughts. They're not the observed, which are the thoughts. And therefore they think that when the thoughts go, that's it, it's non-existence. There's no such thing as non-existence. We misinterpret the state of deep dreamless sleep the state of no thoughts, and as a result of that, we come up to with the concept of non-existence, which is an illusion. It's an illusion. It's a concept we have in our mind. It's an illusion. The state of no thoughts is actually just nous, with its imprints, just observing. That's deep dreamless sleep. That's death. Now, and that correlates with the findings of Stuart Hameroff that with the microtubules, the neurons just being an appearance made up of many smaller parts. You say they generate consciousness. So, excuse me, which part of the neuron? Be specific. They don't have any answer. And now, of course, it's found the microtubules are involved with the process. But it's actually what's actually going on is on a subtler or quantum level. Subtler and quantum mean the same thing. Remember that. Subtle and quantum mean the same thing. Consciousness is rooted in the subtler aspects of reality, the quantum aspects of reality, and this is now proven, and therefore, so how do we purify ourselves of self-ignorance? The first and foremost method recommended by all ancient enlightened sages is devotional service or worship, but not to any particular god, to a noetic being who personifies all the good qualities that are totally alien to humanity, like peace, detachment, meditativeness, love, compassion, wisdom, valor, bravery, honor, modesty. All these principles are totally alien to humanity. And worship simply means merging. When you worship a particular god or a goddess, you merge your psyche in with theirs and you adopt their qualities at the expense of the ones you want to get rid of. It's like an exchange of qualities, basically. You get rid of the bad ones, you adopt the good ones. That's the art of worship. It's a great art because even if the noetic being isn't really a noetic being, which I think it is, still there is this exchange of qualities. It works. And on top of that, it makes the mind hyper-focused because you're meditating, but not on your finances, which you can only focus on for like 1 or 3 minutes. You're meditating upon the deity which you love with all your heart, and you can meditate upon that for hours. As a result of that, the next stage, unmeditation. You drop the object of your meditation, the deity, and you unmeditate. The psyche, from its grossest aspects to the subtlest, dissolves. You reach your irreducible nature as nous, as proto-consciousness, like in deep dreamless sleep, and then you go beyond that when all the imprints dissolve to the ultimate delocalized state, what scientists wrongly call space-time. Your essential irreducible nature, which is the substratum of everything. You reach that, and that is called self-knowledge, gnosis. And then once you attain that, you cannot be born in this world again. There's no way. All your qualities are totally alien to humanity. And self-knowledge is gained. You've removed all your imprints, all desires. And as a result of that, you can now desire whatever you want. You desire the abode of your deity, which embodies all those qualities and embodies also the quality of unchangeability or undecayability, because the deity is always in the same form. Its form doesn't change, even as this particular form changes and decays and so on. The form of the deity does not change. It always remains youthful. And thus you become attached also to the quality of unchangeability or undecayability. All of this is attained via worship, this ancient science that humanity has shied away from. Well, that's unfortunate. Now they have to rely on other methods of purification, for example, just the acquisition of self-knowledge, such as what certain YouTubers like Morg and Theoria Apahasis are interested in. No worship, but the acquisition of knowledge via reading, specifically reading books related to self-knowledge, existence knowledge, like, Atma Bodha by Adi Shankara Acharya, and the Upanishads and stuff, and Plato and stuff like this, which is good. That's one way. There's another way to do it, because as you contemplate these works, and also other things like mathematics, symbolism, the kind of peace that is inherent in our irreducible nature becomes manifest, and that peace has this ability to kind of tranquilize and neutralize the more negative qualities within us, like hate and anger and so on. And so that's another way to self-purify. And then the final way is the hardest, and that's simply to do charitable works in the world. And that's very difficult because those opportunities are rare. And even when you do it, like, unless you really put your heart to it, there's not really that much purification taking place. Therefore, I implore all of you, as one of my last, perhaps, I don't know, one of my last messages before I leave this world, um, invoke the being within you who can guide you to where you belong, and where you belong is not in this world. And if you do that, it will initiate the process. It will be a long, complicated process with a lot of hurt and a lot of pain, and also a lot of pleasure and a lot of relief. But the deity will guide you until finally liberated from this filthy carcass known as the human body, and will never have to experience these processes of old age and decay and disease and exploitation and war ever again.